thank you everybody for coming tonight. And Ishka, do you have any announcements for us?
Lace up your favorite running shoes. Registration is open for the 7th annual Springford Educational Foundation 5K Run and Walk and Kids Fun Run. The Springford 5K will be held Friday, April 24th, and this year we can almost guarantee a rain-free event. Visit the Springford website to register your whole family. Whether you run, jog, or walk, you won't want to miss this fun event.
Thank you very much for that. Public to be heard on agenda items only. Okay, we have 2 presentations this evening. Mr. Cifelli, our music teacher and spring musical director, will provide a glimpse of the Springford Area High School Spring Musical, 42nd Street.
Thank you so much. Yeah, kids, if you want to get in place. My name is Alexander Cifelli. I'm the 7th grade music teacher, and alongside my fellow co-directors and staff and the students of the Springford Musical, I'd like to invite everybody next weekend, March 6th and 7th, to our annual spring musical. This year we're doing 42nd Street. It is a jukebox musical, which is a collection of songs from the 30s. And one of the things we wanted to do this year is really emphasize the art form of dance. It's something that's a little bit out of our wheelhouse. We taught the cast how to tap dance, those that had significant experience, those that had no experience. And I think you're going to be in for a treat this year. This is one of the largest shows we've done. We have 85 in the cast. Thanks to the new facilities regarding the prop shop, the set is the biggest we've ever built. It's going to be a spectacle for sure. So get your tickets now. They're selling out fast. You can buy them online, or you can buy them at the door. March 6th and 7th, and without further ado, I'd like to present the cast of Springford's 42nd Street. Mr. Perry, take it away. So wait till you hear that in tap shoes, right? That's going to be incredible. We didn't want to give Bob Hunter a heart attack, so we didn't put the tap shoes on, right? But 42nd Street, there's plenty more of that, where that came from. We hope everybody will come out. Again, March 6th and 7th. And teachers, there'll be a free preview for all the teachers on Thursday, March 5th at 4 p.m. So you can come out and support us in that way as well. Thank you again for having us, inviting us. Have a wonderful rest of your meeting, and we'll hope to see you in the theater in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Well, before you take off and everybody leaves, we just want to say thank you so much. Many of us will be out to the musical. We're very much looking forward to it. And as a mom of one of those dancers, I'm glad those dance classes have paid off because everybody looked fabulous. And we're looking forward to a great show. Can't wait to see the musical. Thank you for tonight.
Which one? Which
Oh,
one's your daughter?
She's right there in the front, right
Where?
there.
I didn't see her. Where is it? The tall one?
No.
Where's she at? Alex, you guys, as always, you guys do a great job. We look forward to this every year, especially when you bring them, to the board meeting. And when I came in, I was looking for school board marks. I thought you wanted us to dance this year with them, but I couldn't find the little X's where to join in. But you guys, it was an awesome job. And the public, I mean, I tell everyone, you got to go to see Spring-Ford kids perform. I mean, they're just amazing. And what you've done over the last couple of years, what your team, just keep raising the bar, and these performances are incredible. So thank you very much, and great job, everyone.
Yes, great job.
And where's Mr. Perry? I guess he ran out too, but he's also does an awesome job as well. So great job. Thank you.
Okay, following up on that presentation is Mr. Doug Rigner with the finalist of the National Merit Scholarship Program. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. In September 2019, 8 of our senior students were named National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. Out of more than 1.6 million students in the country who took the 2019 preliminary SATs, they were among the 16,000 highest performers. This represents less than 100% of all the high school seniors in the nation. In order to advance to the finalist level and be considered for a monetary award, the semifinalists had to take additional steps and fulfill several requirements. These steps included submitting a detailed scholarship application, obtaining endorsement and recommendation by a high school official, and the writing of an essay and earning of SAT scores that confirmed earlier performance on the PSATs. At this time, Spring-Ford Senior High School is pleased to announce that all 8 of these students have been proclaimed finalists for the 2020 National Merit Scholarship Program. Our 2020 National Merit Scholarship finalists are, and you can come up when I call your name. All right. Alina Ataher. And you can just line up in the front right here, and then we'll acknowledge you. We're fine. Harish Bayana. Siddhant Shivan. Deepak Kawarjawal. And make sure we're standing in the order that you were called. Okay. That's key here. Okay. Ryan Pierce. Aryan Singh. Samuel Thomas. And Nicholas Tufilero. At this time, Mr. Bob Rizzo, our Assistant Superintendent, and Mrs. Colleen Zazowski, our School Board President, will be presenting our students with their National Merit Scholarship certificates. While they're doing that, I'll give you the rest of the rundown. In March, National Merit Scholarship Corporation will begin mailing scholarship offers to a selection of some 7,500 merit scholarship winners. Each winner will be selected from the group of approximately 15,000 finalists. We are very proud of these students and would like to recognize each one of them, as well as their families who are here with them this evening. If we could have the families stand up to be recognized as well. Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Nugent just informed me that this far exceeds our largest number in recent memory to get to this level. So congratulations. We're very proud of you. Yes. At this time, if you could go make your way around the board table, and then parents, if you want to do photo opportunities down the side hallway, feel free to do that. Thank you very much for coming.
This is so much good news in one night between the talented performers that we had and the academic achievements that these students have done. It's been amazing. Okay, are we ready to continue with our agenda and hopefully a good rest of the meeting? We'll start with the board and committee reports and our student rep. Ishika, do you have something for us?
So this is our February student report. So what happened? We had National School Council Week throughout the district, the VEX Robotics Competition, H&S Dine Out Night at Giovanni's Pizza and Restaurant, hosted by Limerick Elementary, a 4-day weekend from February 14th to February 17th, bingo night held by 5 to 6 Center as well as Brook Elementary, and the Ireland Exchange Students Trip. What's coming up? We have Hoops for Heart next week, ASVAB testing, which is February 27th, our spring musical, the String Jamboree, our marching band concert, pancake and breakfast and book fair held by Spring City, as well as the Grade 4 Reading Olympics. And tonight we have something special. We will be introducing the students of the quarter. Throughout the past 2 years, as student board representatives, we have been excited to introduce 2 new initiatives at the high school. First, our Student Ambassador Program, and now tonight, the Student of the Quarter. Throughout the course of the second marking period, students in grades 9 through 12 were nominated by staff members within the high school, and then chosen by a selection committee. As we call your name, we would ask that the student and their attending family please come to the front. Each recipient will receive a framed certificate and have their picture taken. All student recipients will have their picture displayed in both the 9th grade center as well as the 10-12 center for the remainder of the school year. Our freshman recipient is Jacob Mest. Jacob is a leader in his classes and a positive influence on the community. He is kind and courageous, as well as respected by his peers and teachers. Jacob also contributes to our school community by participating in the wrestling and football teams, displaying his strong work ethic in both venues. Congratulations to Jacob and his attending family. Presenting Jacob his certificate is Student Ambassador Anshika Gupta. Our sophomore recipient is Aurora Ferguson. Aurora is an outstanding student and class leader who consistently produces excellent work. In addition, she is also involved in a VDM Club, Resilience Club, Academic Team, Interact Club, PEP Club, peer mentorship, and is a member of the girls lacrosse team. Congratulations to Aurora and her attending family. Presenting Aurora her certificate is Student Ambassador Alyssa Karopoulos. Our junior recipient is Jamie Smith. Jamie is Vice President of the Class of 2021 for 3 years running. Jamie is an active student at SFHS, participating in spring track, jazz band, and is a member of the high school's Minority Coming Together Club. Over the summer, Jamie works at the Camp Shamrock, and this year will be attending the Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week at Lycoming, PA. Jamie hopes to attend Penn State University with a major in business and marketing. Congratulations to Jamie and his attending family. Presenting Jamie his certificate is Student Ambassador Kylie Cabot. Our senior recipient is Jonathan Rambo. Jonathan is a bright, personable, and always has a kind word to share. Currently, John maintains a rigorous academic schedule with multiple advanced placement courses. After high school, he plans to study to become a physician's assistant at King's College. John has also actively participated in many school activities, such as winter track, FBLA, VDM, and Resilience clubs. Presenting John his certificate is Student Ambassador Anshika Gupta. Congratulations to John and his attending family. Please join me in congratulating our first-time Student of the Quarters. I would ask that the group please gather in the rear for a group picture. And thank you. This concludes our February student report.
That was a nice job, Ishka. You guys did a great job on that, and thank you for bringing these students of the quarter to us. Congratulations to all of you and to the families as well. We hope to see them again. Well, we hope to see the next batch at the end of the next quarter. Okay, thank you. Are you going for pictures? Okay. Great, so moving on with the committee reports. Policy, I'm going to do that tonight. I did not do that last week, so, what's that? Okay. Oh, that's right, yeah. So I have it tonight. Policy was held on Monday, February 10th. I was not there, but Erin Crew, Bob Rizzo, Lorraine Moyer, and Betsy Mastrocola participated in a demo of the school messenger's safe arrival. Additionally, Erin Crew has reached out to North Penn to learn about their rollout and teacher public perception on that. More to be considered and will be brought back to the March policy meeting. And that was in terms of the medical excuse update that we've been looking at in policy. So that was the demonstration there. There was also an attendance discussion that was tabled due to a lack of time to appropriately dig into that policy. So we'll be bringing that back in March for consideration and review also. And we will make that a priority during the March committee meeting. There was a discussion, from my understanding, a pretty lengthy discussion of the draft version of the language and some context for this, as well as the creation of the handbook for coaches and club sponsors. We're going to continue to refine that language and share further comments with committee, and then that will be coming forth to the board. Is that correct, Mr. Rizzo?
Yes.
Okay. So in addition to that, there are 2 policies that were brought forward for a first reading. Title I, comparability of services and food services, and also the solicitor was given 2 policies for review, the language instruction education program for English learners and equity, diversity, inclusion policy, which had been brought forward by Beth Leese. The policies to be revised and brought back to committee would be crowdfunding and student expressions. Crowdfunding was also the topic of some discussion at that meeting and may be included under student fundraising. We're taking a look at that as we work to bring our policies together, make them more appropriate, and try to scale back a little bit. If you want to comment on that a little bit
Sure.
further. Thanks.
It's my understanding that some of the discussions at the committee level has been to, it's not going to be all policies, but fade away from having these 8, 9, 10-page policies and instead having maybe a limited policy, a page, and then directing administrative guidelines, which I think is appropriate because the administrative guidelines can be changed as needed without having to go through significant policy revisions. So that is not going to be every policy, but and we've discussed this internally on our end, as those policies come up for review, we're going to identify those policies. And I know the crowdsourcing policy is maybe that will be the initial test case of that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. Sorry, so to conclude with policy on tonight's agenda, you'll see that there are five here that are submitted for approval that we have really dissected in policy, and they're here tonight. And then there are two, as I said, the Title I and the food services that are here for a first reading. So we will meet again, I believe March 9th is our next meeting for policy. So moving on to Western, we have an update from Western. We met in the beginning of the month, and at this point, the director there is working on the budgeting, budget planning at this point, and there will be a budget proposal brought back to the JOC in March. There are, as of today, 23 days left for students to complete the online applications. The deadline is March 15th, so if you know of anyone interested in applying to Western, they need to do that by March 15th. As of right now, they are at 335 applications, which is 70 more than they were at this time last year. So that's very good that they've done that outreach. On March 5th, they will be hosting a special open house for early childhood education, the health sciences, and dental occupations from 6 to 7:30. This special open house was scheduled as there was a vast number of students who toured the facility and they were interested in these programs specifically. There were a number of students there who also took initiative to show a great deal of thoughtfulness and compassion. They raised some money to donate to Australia's bushfire emergency. That was publicized all over, so that kindness is definitely noted. And the summer camp information is out. It's in a newsletter format and also on the website. You can also share the word on that. Their next couple of events, February 29th is the Indoor Car Show and Craft Fair from 8 to 3. March 2nd, our next JOC meeting, which will follow the community dinner. And March 5th, it's, as I said, the Early Childhood Health Sciences and Dental Open House in the evening. So that's what's happening over there. In addition, one of the things that we talked about or requested at that meeting was pretty much a State of the Union of the Western Montgomery CTC. We wanted to find out what's really been going on and in what direction are we heading. So they Mr. Martin was kind enough to provide us with the accomplishments and changes that have taken place there from 2014 to 2020. And some of the features include new programming, higher NOCHI scores, the increased or enhanced security, the equipment that's been available, the number of events that they are now offering, and some of the technology that is in the classroom and in the programs that they are pushing forth. So that was pretty much where we were at with them, and we will go back again on March 2nd. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
The stuff that you just talked about wasn't discussed at the meeting. It was follow-up. What was discussed at the meeting was what are we planning, what's the objectives and the goals, you know, for the upcoming year. And surprisingly, and now you could correct me if I'm wrong, but surprisingly, that was a question that they haven't been asked in a while. So we're going to be looking at, you know, having further discussions in the, you know, in March and April about what's the next level, what's some of the things that we could start visioning with the Western Center to, as far as where we could, you know, raise the bar there as well. I mean, there's many opportunities for us to continue doing with a lot of the great work that's been started a few years ago, and it will continue on. But we just didn't want to get the feel that it's smooth sailing, because they've done some really good things over the last couple of years, and we're kind of, and that's the pitfall that you always worry about, is that it's just people, you know, just kind of step back and say, oh, everything's great, you know, everything's running smooth. So the whole point of the conversation was, you know, what are some of the objectives that we could look at moving, not that we will do everything, but like just start doing investigative work.
That's correct, and so that was what we had asked for, to see, well, what have we done? Where can we go? What kind of goals can we set? What are the objectives that we need to meet those goals? And that really was the focus of the meeting, what we asked for. And yes, I added a little bit more because of the feedback that we received, but just to keep us moving forward. Okay. All right, so moving on from that, we have Dave Schaefer's not here tonight for PSBA, and Christina's not here for legislative, but Tom, you are here for MCIU?
Well, there's a couple, from a legislative standpoint, there's a couple key bills that are underway that we really need to be paying close attention to. The biggest thing is that I'm going to, before I go into the IU, because it's legislative, comes out of the IU, the recent governor's budget, it's interesting because like every year, they roll out a budget. There's a lot of back and forth as far as what's in this current budget and what's being proposed. And, you know, eventually there will be many items that will be kicked back out. One of the things is that they're still looking at seeing what, from an educational funding standpoint, there will be, you know, if there will be any increases to educational funding. Right now, Spring-Ford, if it goes through as planned, will be slotted for potentially close to between $200,000 and $300,000 additional in educational funding. But every year, there's always unfunded mandates that are put back on top of that. So it's always questionable as far as, are we really seeing increases, as well as are we actually going to see an increase in the PSER amounts, because that's how the state usually gets a portion of the money back as well. But one of the things I find somewhat disturbing that will be, from a legislative standpoint, is that's in the budget, is school districts like Spring-Ford work so hard to build what we consider one of the, and many consider one of the top-notch school police departments within the state. And last year, there was a budget of $60 million where school districts could apply for grants that could be used to go towards the school police. And lo and behold, and as it was talked about, that would actually, or potentially could be increased going into this year. And the budget came out, and it's a $50 million reduction. So they're going from a $60 million budgeted line item that schools like Spring-Ford would be able to, you know, apply for certain grants and all that, cut down to $10 million. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And most recently, as previous years, which they normally don't talk about too much publicly because they don't want the state to really, the residents to really know what's going on. But right now, they're about a $500 million for this quarter shortfall. And they're not really sure how the budget's going to end up. And they've been carrying somewhat of a deficit from year to year. And so it'll be interesting in how the proposed $36 million budget's going to come across June, July so we have to pay particular attention to that as well. And from an IU perspective, really the meetings this week, so there's not much to report on, but the two main aspects that are going on at the IU right now is we are in a search of a new executive director, and the interviews first round of interviews will be starting later in March, the third week of March, I believe it was, second or third week of March. I am on the interview committee, so I will be participating in selecting the next executive level director, much like I was when we brought in Dr. George, which was an excellent choice for the IU. And the other part of it is the building rehab that's going on Main Street, which was the original IU building that we're now rehabbing for all the programs that we have underway. Interesting enough, if the board remembers, last month I updated everyone on about the change orders on this project that's going on, and I pushed back on several of those, and I got an invite to attend the building update committee meeting this week, which I wasn't able to get, or last week, I'm sorry, which I wasn't able to get to, but I'm anticipating that there's going to be additional change orders that are, because every month they've been putting $50,000 to $60,000 change orders forward, so we'll be interesting to see where that goes as well. That's my report.
I did hear a little bit this week, and I guess I was going to ask Christina about this House Bill 2261 for a charter reform bill. Do we know anything about that? Do we know too much?
Yeah, it's like all the other charter reform bills that are, it's kind of like, we just have to wait and see. I'm not going to, there's no reason to really comment. Governor Wolf is trying to push a charter reform bill. The plan is, the bill, I believe that one that you're referring to is charter schools will be able to charge $9,500, I believe, to school districts, but it'll be interesting to see how that gets through the House and the Senate as well. So I think it's a little early to see if it's going to have an impact. I mean, Springford, I believe, is going to save almost $700,000.
If it was to go through.
If it goes through. And for 10 years, they've been talking about charter reform bills. And for 10 years, they get to a certain point, and some you believe are actually going to pass, and then in the 23rd hour, it gets tabled. So there's a lot of pushback in Harrisburg when it comes to charter reform, charter school reform. There's a lot of money that's generated out of that for these, what I say are businesses. So we'll wait and see. I wouldn't get too excited about it yet.
Something to watch. Okay, and personnel?
Personnel update. Obviously, there's not a lot of information that we could get into. As the board knows, we have several groups in the district beyond the teachers that we have what we call benefit agreements with, or benefit statements, whatever. And we meet with half of the groups each year. And this year we start the process with the secretaries, custodians, the administration, which is our Act 93, which is building principals and that, as well as the cafeteria workers. And so we're in the process of finalizing those agreements. We'll be meeting with each of those groups again. We met with the groups once. We went through everything, brought it back to the board. We met in exec session, as we mentioned last week. We're going to meet with each of those groups, and then they'll be on the March agenda for approval by the board.
Anybody have any questions or comments or anything about any of that? Okay, I think the recap was in the board memo, so everybody was good with that? Okay. Okay, so for our superintendent report, Mr. Rizzo, you can take that for us?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Houski. The Future Planning Center is organizing a trip for up to 40 students in Springford Area High School to return to ManuFest on March 10th. ManuFest is a unique event featuring the manufacturing and trades jobs available to students post-high school. During their trip, students will explore how things are made, learn about career pathways in manufacturing and trades, including design, electrical engineering, electrical, industrial maintenance, machining, HVAC, and more. In addition to ManuFest, the Future Planning Center is about to kick off Career Month. Students will be able to meet with presenters from dozens of fields, including automation engineering, advertising, marketing, and copywriting, public relations and communications, physical therapy, business development, cybersecurity, nursing, real estate, neuroscience, and many more. And finally, switching from our senior students to our incoming kindergartners, kindergarten registration is open. Children who will be 5 years old by August 31st, 2020 are eligible to attend kindergarten next year. Parents should visit the district website to make a registration appointment. Once the online registration information is complete, parents will be prompted to select a date and time for the appointment, which will be held at their child's future elementary school. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
You mentioned the future planning center. I just want to pass on. I was talking with somebody I know this past week, and their son wanted to get into Penn State U Park, and that was his goal. And he worked very, very closely with the staff at the Future Planning Center. They did everything that was required. Of course, he had the grades, and I'm not saying anything special happened for him, but they worked extremely hard, and they were able to get him accepted, and he'll be starting the summer session in 2020. And they were just blown away by how dedicated the staff is, and work extremely hard with these students, especially when there's such a desire to get into college like that. So just a great job by our Future Planning Center.
Agreed. That's an exceptional team, and that's one story of many. We're having many of the people that have a dream, have a goal, and those ladies at the Future Planning Center help get them there. It's a great little addition to our team, to our district.
And not every school has one of those offices or departments or what have you, so a lot of it falls under guidance lots of times. So it's nice to have that separate piece where they really focus on the future plans for our students as they leave Springford. Okay, Mr. Fitzgerald, do you have anything for us?
Just briefly, nothing significant. This is the first meeting of this board where there's there's 2 individuals that are absent, so you have 7 individuals. However, under the school code, for votes to pass, and you guys are going to be acting on items shortly, it would still require 5 votes under the school code. So a 4-3 vote doesn't actually pass anything that has some monetary value to it. It would still require the 5 votes.
Okay, and with that, we are going to move into the minutes. We have the minutes A and B. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay. And moving on to personnel, A through F. Do we have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in, oh, go ahead. Do you have a question?
On C, what is the projected number of hours for C?
We don't have that data at this point in time, but I can send it in the board memo if you'd like. We've had this program in the past several years.
Understood. Thank you.
So, Mrs. Lees, will it follow the same format then as in previous years? Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion? We have the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And he was under questions or comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Finance, A through H. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Property, A through D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Programming and curriculum, A through D.
Separate C.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments?
How many uniforms did we purchase for $98,000?
think the
Just want to
numbers
clarify,
between-
we went out
I
of
want to
order.
clarify for the motion, are we acting on A, B, and D right now? Because if that's the case, we can wait to,
We did separate C.
yeah, as a separate motion.
Yeah.
So do we want to act on these three?
Okay,
Because your
A,
question's
B.
regarding C, correct?
Questions or comments on A, B, or D?
Correct.
All in favor of A, B, and D?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, then if we take C separately.
Correct. And we need a motion.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
So now, Clinton, your question again on that would be,
Same question.
how
Same
many
question.
uniforms were purchased for the 98,000 for the middle school marching band?
Well, they're not purchased yet,
No, how many would be purchased?
right? And I believe it was, when they brought this up at curriculum, it was somewhere between 80 and 90, I believe was the number.
That sounds about right. I'm trying to look up right now the exact number, but I know that they were trying to buy a variety of sizes because you can't necessarily predict the sizes of all of the students each year. So they're looking at having enough sizes to be able to cover the group of students. But I'm looking up the exact number now.
Yeah, they're supposed to last 15 years, and the current ones, I guess, lasted close to 20.
Correct.
And where would we store these uniforms?
That I don't know. I'd have to get that answer.
They have a storage area at the middle school where the current uniforms are stored.
So these are replacements?
Yeah, the
Correct.
replacements.
These are replacing the ones that they have now. We bought the high school uniforms about 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's time to buy the middle school band uniforms.
Same company? Same company, high school and middle school?
I think so.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need all in favor? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of
Aye.
purchasing those?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Conferences and workshops, A through E.
Separate A.
Separate
again.
E.
A
A.
is an apple.
Sorry about that. Okay. So do we have a motion for B through E?
So moved.
And a second? Questions or comments on B through E?
Well, my position remains the same from last. I'm sorry.
B, C, D, and E. Okay. All in favor of B through E?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so back to A. Well, we need a motion for that first, right, Mr. Fitzgerald? Do we have a motion for A?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, now, questions or comments? Clinton?
Same position as last week. I don't think we need to fly across the country to evaluate a program. Are we looking at this program again? My same question is as of last week. Are we looking at this program because of what we currently have is deficient or it's not working? I looked up the information that was presented in the memo. It's a sales brochure. And if I read it, the flipping group solves every major problem of the world. And my position hasn't changed on this. I think to fly assistant superintendent across the country on the taxpayer's dime to evaluate a program is not a good use of money.
So, and I brought this up last week, in the motion, it talks about transportation, lodging, and meals. So that's not an accurate statement, if I remember, Mr. Rizzo. It's just transportation and meals. Lodging is being taken care of.
It's a reduced rate for transportation, or for lodging.
Oh, reduced rate.
Yeah, it's a group rate for those that are going to the training, yes.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm a fan of this. I think that we do have some social emotional learning, but we're trying to integrate it throughout our whole curriculum. And it's not just this is actually training. And I think sending, assistant supervisor to get the training, I think will be helpful.
But is this a train-the-trainer kind of program in which they're going to train you so that you can come back, or is this just kind of the training? And my understanding is that it is a demonstration of the training that they would provide here. So it's not a train-the-trainer for you going out there.
Correct. It is not a train-the-trainer. It is the training that they would come out and do with our staff. I would be going through the 2 days that they would come out and do. So it is a training. I wouldn't be then certified or able to, I mean, of course I could share information, but I wouldn't be able to train it in the way that they would be doing that if they came out. That's correct.
But we have to go out, I guess I'm back to, Flippin is on the West Coast, we're on the East Coast, so any involvement we have with them would require us either flying there or them flying here, correct?
That is correct.
And there are no other programs on the East Coast that meets the same criteria that we're looking for with the Flippin Group.
I can't speak to that. I can only speak to the fact that Dr. Gooden, during one of his superintendent conferences, came across the Flippin Group, and he saw value in what they offered, so he wanted to bring them here.
In addition to the discounted lodging or the group rate on the lodging, they are also covering the registration fee. Is that correct? That we would normally be paying in addition to the travel, the transportation, the lodging, the meals. So we're paying a little more than half of what the total package would cost. And the information that you would bring back would help us decide if this was right for Springford. So I'm guessing, or I'm asking, that should you go, that you would bring back and do some kind of a presentation to us to let us know what your thoughts, you know, the positives, the negatives, how you think it could help Springford reach our goals for the social emotional learning piece.
Sure. If that's the board's will, I would absolutely do that.
One of my questions is if we have an estimate of what this would cost us if we brought it to the district? So if we decided to go ahead, if we go out there and we find that this was really a program that we think would benefit our students here, do we have any idea what that would cost at all?
I don't have an exact figure. I know that it is costly to do a K-12 in a district our size. We're looking at targeting, I would say, the most vulnerable ages, which is that 5th or 8th grade band. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And I don't have an exact number for that. I can get that though.
So, this is a long conversation over something, but the motion itself, and you could hear by the questions, and we need to be clear on this stuff. Mr. Rizzo is not going to Sacramento for training. He's not going to be a trainer. He's not. The only purpose of this trip is for him to go to Sacramento to see if the program that the Flippin Group, and I hate that name because it sounds like we're flipping them off, but the group is they have a program that they bring to school districts, and the whole point of this is to, based on the information that the district received so far, which Dr. Gooden feels or felt like this may be something that we should investigate further. So the whole point of the trip, through a discounted rate, is for Mr. Rizzo to go to California, investigate this program, investigate their offerings, see how they perform in a training, see how intense or how inclusive the training is, come back with a recommendation. I do disagree that Mr. Rizzo should be presenting to the board. This falls into recommendations set forth by the administration, and Dr. Gooden then should decide on what and how should be brought to the board for further analysis or further decision making. But that's what this trip is about. So we need to make sure we're all understanding that the point of this trip is to investigate this company and see what they have to offer in detail and see if it's something that would be beneficial to Springford. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Rizzo?
That is an accurate statement. It is a 2-day training, though, regardless of whether we choose to go with the Flippin Group or not. I will be bringing back strategies. I will be bringing back tips and resources to share with our already existing efforts. But you are correct. I'm really going through those 2 days of training to see whether this would be a good fit for our district and where we want to be going. Yes.
But wouldn't we want to know what the financial exposure is before we would investigate this? Because what's the sense of going out there and it's determined that it's not cost effective. I mean, it seems like it's sort of backwards.
And I agree with you to an extent, because I do recall Dr. Gooden saying that it was costly, and Dr. Rizzo just did reiterate that. It is costly. We don't have an exact number on that, on what that would be. So I think we have to take a vote and then go from there. Okay, so A, we had a motion and a second, and we just went through our questions. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. How many, should we? Opposed?
No,
2. So it does pass. with
this is going to
with
set the
other 5.
precedence.
Okay, moving on to other business.
I got one other question.
Oh, okay.
Just for conversation here, if we're going to pursue this, wouldn't we send the administrator who deals with this on a day-to-day basis as opposed to the assistant superintendent for evaluation?
There is value in doing that because it is my goal, and I'm the one that is sort of coordinating the social emotional learning programming as we move forward and planning. It made sense to fall into my lap. But if the board would prefer that we send somebody who is more boots on the ground than me, we can entertain that.
I would support more boots on the ground, sir.
It's not the motion, so. That's my comment.
Okay, other business. A motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Under other business.
You skipped it. Wait a minute.
No, I didn't.
That's where we are.
Right, you're right.
Okay. Not doing B, because B is just up for a first read, so A. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yeah,
Yes.
you got a second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, board comment.
Last week, when we were going through the agenda, we had an extensive conversation regarding, in the board comment portion of the meeting, we ended up with a discussion regarding the early start time survey, which was then leading to a vote. Then through 10 or 15-minute conversation, we moved from a vote to a retreat. And a couple things with that. One is I got extremely frustrated because board comment is to make comment, and if it's going to lead to discussion item, that should then lead to an agenda item so the board could properly prepare for the next meeting. And also, we shouldn't then be talking about voting on something that wasn't on the agenda for approval during the board comment. With all that said, I then proceeded to make a comment that after going back looking at it, I realized that my frustration filtered through, and I was talking about our student reps, and it did not come across the way I planned. We have excellent student reps. They do an amazing job. I mean, as you see tonight, they did an amazing job. And I apologize to both Ishka and Juliana for taking that frustration forward. I'm a huge supporter of those. I will continue to be a huge supporter of those, and I will continue to compliment them on everything that they do, because out of the student reps that we've had, that I've been on the board, we've had some really amazing student reps, and Ishka and Juliana are right at the top with one other one that I'm thinking of. I'm not going to mention the name, but they're right at the top of the student reps. So thank you for everything that you guys are doing. You do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
He's feeling guilty, that's all.
Point is, we all really appreciate what you do, and we're very grateful when you're here. So thank you very much to both you and Jules. So moving on from that, I do want to remind everybody that we are having the retreat. The general consensus was to have it on March 14th. I'm going with the 10 to 12. I know that there have been some requests to go longer, but There's been some work already done on the later start times, and I ask you to review the information that was provided at the town meeting and come ready to discuss, and we'll dig our heels and get right into that on March 14th. Any other board comment?
I had a question. For the middle school marching band, how many students are in the middle school marching band?
Question?
For the C for programming and curriculum, because on average it costs around $500 for a uniform. So it depends how many students are in there, because if, like, I think there's around 70 students, and if we're buying 20 extras on total, that brings us to around 90. So if you do the math, that's $1,100 per uniform.
Not mean, I have really got to get rid of. Can't
Comment,
believe I
Ishka.
did that.
Look
It's
what you
okay.
just did to me.
No, I want to get rid of that button, but,
I
yeah.
never hit it by accident.
Okay, I have, that's not the,
Because that would be $600 on average more, and if you're buying it in bulk, shouldn't it be less from a company?
they're all very great points, but I do just want to throw out there that our music programs are growing all the time. I mean, look at the numbers from maybe when you started till now, and if we're, and I would, I guess, throw this back to curriculum, but if we're buying if we're buying uniforms, we would want to have enough to accommodate all of those students.
And I think it was supposed to be much larger, but I also think they had to buy, you have to buy a range of sizes, from what I understood, because of the difference in size. So it's a lot more than just a couple extra.
I wasn't sure, because I was like, because of course I'm comparing to when I was in middle school, and so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure, because I was like, that seems like a little much, but.
And I think it is a lot larger than when you were in middle school,
Okay,
but
that's
it's
what I
even
figured.
forecasted to be larger still,
Okay.
from what I recall.
Okay, I just
saying.
wanted clarification. Thank you.
You're spot on, because that's where I was going. Don't let them change your mind, okay?
Well, I think the cost of a uniform is a little higher than $500. I wish we could get them for $500, but
So
anyway.
I do have those numbers. It is 180 uniforms, and it is for that range of sizes, so that we could hit the large amount of sizes, or the large span. We don't know every year whether or not we're going to have a larger number of students needing one set of sizes versus the other.
You could have some really short people like me that would need like the really small, short size, so you don't know. Okay, so public to be heard? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Zimmerman, you got something?
Okay, all in favor? Aye.